All right. Well, welcome to another episode of the Rest and Recovery Podcast. With me is Dasha Maximov, repeat offender guest, second offense. So welcome back, Dasha.
Thank you. I like that. I like that term, second offense. I don't. It switches up how we think about that.
Yeah. It's meant to be a good thing.
I like it.
Right. Yeah. So, and if you don't know Dasha, she is a wonderful woman who is focused on women's health and really bringing that to the forefront. And in our first conversation, learned of a set of gaps in the medical science and the need for better support and better information and better science to support women's health. And then, but today we're going to talk a little bit of different, still on the same topic, right? But really practically how women can be supported, especially coming out of, I'll call it the last 2 years of weirdness and the mental and emotional aspect, not just the physical, if anyone got sick during that time, but what that meant to us, and the impact, and then how we get out of that, and the need to really equip ourselves with the tools to do that. So that's my long preamble to introduce you. I probably should have just given you the microphone.
No, I love it. I love listening to you as well. These podcasts, it's fun to have a back and forth. So this is, I fully agree with you. And yeah, I think, we'll get into it, but the past 2 years there's no doubt about it. They have been difficult. Some people really thrived in the past 2 years. Some people didn't. But what is common across everyone, I think, is that we saw what happens to us when we're pushed into a corner. And that for some people, that was they're going to fight like hell. For other people, they're going to keep on getting pushed back in. For other people, is they're just going to sit silently. Like it almost was the first time in many of our lives where we were forced into that kind of discomfort.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting because you and I have talked about, the title of your podcast is Rest and Recovery. And the thing that I speak with a lot of my clients, and most of my clients are females who are overstressed, overworked, and don't know where to start. And many of their health issues, hormonal imbalances, thyroid problems, things like that stem from not being able to balance their stress enough and not having the correct tools, because there actually are amazing tools that we have available to us to help us reduce that stress.
Yeah.
And so it's not just, when you go to the doctor and the doctor says, well, you just need to be a little bit less stressed. Like, that's not good enough, right? Let's actually speak to, all right, I'm stressed out of my mind. I just got my Dutch test back and my cortisol level is just flatlined. My adrenals are messed. What do I do?
Yeah.
What is a tangible, practical thing that I can do today or tomorrow?
Yeah, it's that now what? It's like, okay, great. Now I know the problem, but now you're kind of just sitting in the problem, and it's like, how do you move forward to kind of undo all those things? And it just seems like, patience, one, has to be a key ingredient, I would think. But I cannot relate to what any of those needs are relative to women. As much as I'm surrounded by them, wife, 3 daughters, 2 sisters, there's still going to be that gap on the need, and it's going to be different than mine. There may be correlations, similarities, right? Because at the end of the day, if we're talking about emotions, we can all relate. Now, why we feel those things are different, but anyway.
Yeah, I think I would say the difference that I see between men and women with respect to stress is that I think that women tend to, and this is a gross generalization, so forgive me if it is that, but I do tend to find in general that women take on more than men do. And that's a testament to us wanting to be the caregiver. And it could be a caregiver in the family, as a mother, as a wife, as a sister, as a coworker, as a boss. Like, we always want to take care of everything and everybody.
Yeah.
And I've been told the metaphor that men tend to think as waffles
Yeah.
right? And women are more like spaghetti.
Yeah.
And I find that that's
Good
quite
book.
true, right? You know, we as women, we can hold a lot of information. We can hold a lot of things together. We can, you know, you call us in the middle of the day and you say, hey, honey, where is that thing that you haven't seen in the house for 6 months? And they'll know exactly where it is, right? It's almost like we hold on to more information, or we hold it together from more people, including ourselves. And so with respect to stress, and with respect to, when I think of stress, I think of your cortisol, I think of the HPA axis, which is the hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis, right? With respect to that, if we continuously get stressed, and we don't offload it, then we end up having those imbalances. And so oftentimes we see that men are able to offload it more so than women, because more men are, their hobbies are more active, right?
Yeah.
So they
Yeah.
are moving, they're going to play basketball with their friends, they're going to go and, you know, go for that run, go for that bike ride. Women will tend to, again, gross generalization, but tend to go for that yoga class, or we'll go for brunch with our girlfriends, or things like that. So it may not be as active, and then therefore it may not be as often that we are releasing that cortisol, releasing that stress, right? And so it gets, so not only are we having more of this, or rather we're just having, we're taking on more of it, and then we are not setting enough boundaries to say, hey, I need 2 hours to go on Saturday morning and offload this stress, right? And so with respect to women and stress, it is a question of, I mean, there's so many different things to do. Patience, what you said, it is part of it. And I think it's also that there's so many different elements to start with, but one of them is setting boundaries, right? One is being able to tell people, hey, my cup is full. I have nothing left to give. And hopefully creating boundaries before you get to that point. Right. But being able to say, hey, you know, I'm taking on too much, and I just need a pause right now. I need an hour for nobody to touch me. And that could mean that I'm going to go take a bath. I'm going to go and sit on whatever social media you want, or whatever it is, but to say, I need an hour to reboot. And then the next question is, okay, once you've gotten into that practice of saying, okay, these are my boundaries, then how do we spend that time better? How do we say, okay, for that hour, I am going to go work out. I am going to go do a new calm session. I am going to go and do a TRE release session, which are things that you can do in the comfort of your home, right? I am going to start studying a little bit more about what are the things that I could be taking, either be they adaptogens or other supplements or other exercise, asana, for example, to help to actually get my resilience threshold a little higher. Another thing, and then I'll pause after that, because I know that I'm kind of throwing a lot, but there's a really amazing book that's called The Comfort Crisis, which I would highly recommend for people to read. The author, Michael Easter, he speaks of how we've almost been too coddled in this generation, in this life that we live. We are constantly living at an average of 72 degrees Fahrenheit. We are our biggest stressor, and it's not to downplay it, but our biggest stressor is I've got 4 people asking me different things, and I have all of these responsibilities that I've set on myself, right? Our stressors are self-imposed. And rather than, oh, that tiger is going to kill me, or if I drink that water, I may get some bug and I'm going to die in 2 days, right? Our comfort level is very, very high, and we've gotten used to that. And so what this Michael Easter speaks of is finding these moments of discomfort and almost seeking them out. Because when we start to have more of these moments of discomfort, we realize that we can actually do better, be greater, confront the stresses, get more resilient. And so finding what those little discomforts could be for you. So for example, it's starting to get cold out, right? Don't go and wear a jacket. That's a little discomfort, right?
Right.
You're used to every single morning you wake up in the morning and you eat breakfast. Okay, go until dinner without any food. See that discomfort, literally feel what true hunger feels like, right? And then what we tend to find is people who have struggled, in quotes I say, and have had more of these moments of discomfort actually end up becoming more resilient to the smaller stresses in life.
Yeah. It's an
So
interesting paradox of like doing the micro discomforts as a path to recovery.
mm,
That's what I'm hearing from you is like, you build up that resilience so that you can recover well and that things don't affect you as much. So
yep,
the little
exactly.
thing doesn't feel like a level 2 circumstance, and you're responding like it's a level 8. There's this disparity there.
Yeah. And it's there's some, I can't remember who said it, but it's the idea of post-traumatic growth. Right. And because
Yeah.
it makes perfect sense as we have evolved in as humans. With every level that we get more comfortable,
Hmm.
then our threshold gets higher. So if before you never had a car, right? You're used to walking places, you're used to asking for a ride from friends, you're used to taking it a little bit slower. Then all of a sudden you get a bike or you get a car. You do get a car. Okay, great. Now you're used to always having a car, always being able to go everywhere. And now it's, I need the better car. I need the faster car. So it's our levels of threshold of our comfort
Hmm.
get higher and higher and higher as we progress. And so it's almost like we need to have those slap down moments of, nope, don't get used to the comfort,
Yeah.
go back. And because oftentimes the newness, the novelty actually gives us joy. That's why as kids, we're always joyful
Right.
most of the time as kids, because everything is new
Right.
and
Right.
everything is a little discomfortable. And then your parents like, you got this, come on,
Yeah.
take that
Roll
jump
on.
off the rock or whatever it is, and you're gonna land it. You got this,
Yeah.
right?
So how does the what you're doing, what you're building, a tool or mechanism, these weekend trips that you're setting up, these wellness retreats, to help equip women with those skills, with those skills to be able to go that weekend, build them up, and then apply them in life.
Yeah, exactly. So we I noticed over the pandemic how many of my friends were stressed out of their minds, myself included, right?
Yep.
I can't, I'm human. I get stressed. And the thing that I noticed was, if I have a toolkit that even if I am stressed, I can start throwing things at it,
Hmm.
right? Things at that stress. And I mean, last week I had an awful day. Just, those days that everything crumbles and everything is just not going your way. You're
Yeah.
exhausted. A couple of decisions that you wanted to, or, things to happen didn't pan out. And I crumbled, right? But it took a couple hours and I let the emotions come through me, right? Went for the walk, cried, did all the things. And then I started saying, all right, what's my toolkit? What can I start doing now? Right. And
Hmm.
I think that is the critical part. It's not about trying to avoid stress, trying to avoid hardships, trying to avoid these emotions, which are going to come. It's about having the knowledge of what can be potentially done. Right. And
Yeah.
trusting that it will make me feel 0.5% better, 1% better. And if I add up a couple of those, I'm at 10% better.
Yeah.
Right. And so, yeah, so with the retreats, the intention of the retreats was, I moved down. So February last year, I moved down to the Dominican Republic to go kite surfing. And I fell in love. I fell in love with the place. I fell in love with the people. I fell in love with the the pace of life and how stress really doesn't exist down there. There is that, rather it does, but it's just in a different manner, right?
Okay.
It's not in our, it's because the pace is slower, it's not as intense as the stress that we experience in the States. And so I started inviting my friends to come down, and I had friends coming from different cities, and within like 24 to 48 hours, I just saw their shoulders go from up to their ears to just relax down,
Yeah.
and there was something about it. I was like, all right, I got to bring more people down here. And so that was the reason why we started doing these retreats. And so each retreat is based in the Dominican Republic. They're 5 days and 6 days, depending on the retreat. They're only for women as of now, though we might open it up in the future for men as well. And it's exactly that. It's a teaching of tools and creating this toolkit for you, so that when you go home and you're inundated with the life that you lead, then it doesn't feel as oppressive. It doesn't feel as intense, because now you can say, oh yeah, all right, yeah, I've got that. I
Right.
can absolutely get through that.
Yeah.
Right. And so with the retreats, each one is co-hosted with myself and one other person. They're either a doctor, a researcher, a coach. So you're basically getting two people to give you different information. And so there's workshops throughout the 5 days, there's body treatments, there's movement classes, and then there's a whole host of biohacking tools and gadgets and things that I have used on myself and my clients, and want other people to be able to try. Because I think with biohacking, much of it is great, and some of it is pushing product just to push product, right? And I think that the key is finding things that work for you.
Right.
It's not just, oh, well, X influencer told me I have to like this and therefore I have to take it,
Right. Right.
And so when you come down for the retreat, we have certain of these products. We have a chili pad, a sensate, a brain tap, these different things, which could very well be amazing for you. But maybe you try it for, 2 days out of the retreat that you're there, and you're like, this isn't really working for me.
Right.
And so then you don't have to go and spend the money on it. Right. So you kind of get the benefit of going to a conference, because you get to see the different products. You also get the workshops. You get the benefit of going to a retreat because of all the things that we're doing on the retreat. You get the benefit of one-on-one coaching and group coaching as well. So it's kind of uniting a whole bunch of different things together into, I believe, a really, really beautiful experience that can kind of kickstart you on that journey that maybe you've been really needing after the past 2 years.
Yeah.
Because the past 2 years just have been really tough. I mean, I can see it on myself, on my friends. And
Yeah.
so having a community of 10 women around you to say, yep, we're going to support each other. And when we go back home, a couple of women from our past retreat, they were doing ice baths with each other over Zoom when they went back home, right? So you've got a nice community of friends who have just been through this experience with you.
That's great to hear, because like I said, as a husband, as a father of 3 girls and 2 younger sisters, that this type of thing is set up, orchestrated, designed to equip women with skills, so that when you go back into real life after this weekend or 5 days of getting disconnected, but it's good to get disconnected as part of that rest and recovery anytime, vacations or whatever. But where this, it sounds like you're really equipping with tools to prepare you for the real world, and be able to kind of recalibrate when you're dealing with the circumstances, so that like I said earlier, if you're running into a level 2 and you normally respond like an 8, well, maybe you're a 6 or 5 now.
Mm-hmm.
And you can keep bringing it down, and that at least some encouragement towards that progression.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's, what I like about it as well is these are tools that all of us can use, right? So yes, a woman might be coming down for herself, but that doesn't end with her. There is a when one person starts to become a little more light and a little bit more, yeah, just have a little bit more energy and a little bit more space,
Yeah.
then that ripples. That ripples
Absolutely.
throughout the family, that ripples throughout the community, that ripples throughout your friends. And I see it with myself. I see it with so many people. When I've had a crappy night's sleep, or if I'm overly stressed, I'm affecting my family,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that is something that we try to say, oh well, no, it's not me, it's everybody else, right? But if we really do sit back, we know that our lifestyle affects how we come to this life, how we
Yeah.
wake up in the morning, how we actually take the day. And so I think there's a lot of movement in this health space of wearables and
Mhm.
what are your metrics and all of that. And sometimes I kind of want to stop everything and just say, your metric should be, how do you feel? How do you
Yeah.
show up? Do people want to hang out with you?
Right.
Right? Do you give off a lightness, or is there a heaviness to you? Right? And so I think having these tools, and I mean, in terms of some of the tools, like I just want to give people a couple of things to
Sure.
think through, maybe,
Yeah.
because sometimes, again, people ask, okay, give me the so what, what's my list? And it very much depends on the person. It very much depends on what you're working with, you're not. So I'll say a couple of things that I recommend, but again, it's well worth understanding each and every one of them and when to use it, right? So things like, I made a list right before I got on the call, but kava. Kava is amazing.
You're
It's
not
called
Kava,
nature's Xanax.
you're not talking
K
about the KAVA, not the restaurant, right?
Correct. KAVA, not CAVA. I think CAVA is a drink. KAVA is also a drink, but it comes from a root. And that has been used in the Peloponnesian Islands, and it acts on the same receptors in the brain as alcohol does.
Okay.
So it calms you down. So after that first drink, that first glass of wine, how do you feel?
Yeah, relaxed, and the number one, you're feeling good.
Yeah. So kava does the same thing, but it doesn't have the negative side effects of the alcohol, right?
Okay.
The key with kava, though, is to make sure that the sourcing is quite good, because if you use the leaves of the plant instead of the root and the stem, then it potentially could be liver toxic. So
Oh, minor detail.
minor detail. So there's one company that I really like, and also you need to make sure the extraction process is good and all that. But kava is amazing. The one that I mentioned before was Nucalm,
Mhm.
Nucalm.
Okay.
Nucalm has been a game changer, absolute game changer. It is basically in 20 minutes you get the equivalent of like 3 hours of sleep.
Wow.
Yeah.
What is it?
So it is binaural beats. So you have music that you're playing, and
Okay.
at the same time you have a bioresonant disc, which is a sticker that you put right there on your left wrist. Sounds completely woo-woo. You will not believe it until you try it. It's one of those things, right? Tony Robbins has it at all of his conferences, and you know that he's not going to do something that doesn't actually make a
Yeah.
difference.
Right.
And so when people go to his conferences and they're exhausted, right, because they've been jumping up and down and hooting and hollering, and they go and they do this for 20 minutes, and all of a sudden, boom, they have more energy, something's going on,
Yeah.
right? And so they have now several different tracks. If people are interested, just message me. But yeah, I'll send you one as well, Scott, because it has been a complete game changer. I give it a lot to women who have just had children, who
Mhm.
are still breastfeeding and they don't want to take any additional supplements in.
Yeah.
But it is something that there's nothing that is affecting the physiology of the system in terms of like a supplement or a pill or food
Mhm.
or anything like that. It is working on the brain waves, because of the binaural beats, and then the bioresonant disc, which stops your GABAergic system from that fight or flight. So for
Okay.
20 minutes, you're basically calmed down, and you can meditate, you can fall asleep. A lot of people within the first 5 minutes, they almost feel like their body, all their muscles in their body just relax, right?
Very cool.
Yeah.
That is definitely.
Yeah, so that's one. Sensate is another one that I've been loving lately. It's kind of like a pebble. It's kind of like the Apollo, which it's a pebble that goes onto your sternum and vibrates and simulates the feeling of a cat's purr. And so when you lie down and you have that buzzing, you end up, again, just getting more relaxed. What they found was they did a study, I think it was 6 weeks. Yeah, 6 weeks. And 95% of the people who were in the study had improved HRV after doing a Sensate session for 10 minutes a day.
Cool.
So, yeah, I think there's a lot of, then you can talk about breath work and meditation and even just primal screaming. Like last week when I had that kind of crazy stress, I went out into the woods and I screamed. And yeah, that sounds crazy, but you know how cathartic it is?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you live in kind of the DC area, right?
Yep. Yeah.
And so you could say, okay, if I go in the DC area and I go and I scream in the woods, somebody's going to call the cops.
Right.
Right. But
grab a pillow and shout into it.
Grab a pillow and shout into it. Also, if you do scream, it's a 20-second, it's 10-second, right? The likelihood of that, of people going, like actually calling the cops, is probably pretty low, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like it's that discomfort. We've gotten so used to being so modern and prim and proper and like, oh no, I can't do that we're foregoing our health.
Yeah. And sometimes you need that kind of, I don't want to call it extreme, but I mean, that type of thing, you got to offload it. The whole point is you got to get it out of the body somehow.
Yep.
And if you're not allowing it and you're suppressing, it's going to come out in the wrong way at the wrong time on the wrong person.
Yeah, exactly. And if you have a body of water, dunk your head in the water and scream into the water.
There you go. You can do a cold plunge and scream for 2 reasons. Right? So
there you go. Exactly. Get it out.
So it's,
so yeah, there's a lot of tools. There's a lot of tools available to us. It's just again, in those moments of stress, pausing and saying, wait, come on. This is not me. This is a reaction that I'm having to the situation at hand. And I get to choose how I react. I actually get to choose, right?
Yeah.
Because think about it. If you're stuck in traffic and you have 2 situations, one situation, you need to get somewhere for a meeting. Another situation, you don't have anything where to go, right? Because of it's the circumstance, like the same, it's the same external factor. Right. The traffic is the same, right? It's just how you are choosing to be like, I have to get there. I have to get there. If I don't get there, then everybody's gonna be upset with me, and I'm not gonna be able to get to the meeting, and then I'm not gonna get the promotion. Like
when we start compounding it negatively.
Exactly. Versus just saying, all right, well, it's not my control. I can't change anything about it. Can I call in? Right?
Yep.
What can I do next time? What can I do better? Right.
Right.
And I think that they're knowing and realizing that our stressors and our emotions and how we react, it is our choice most of the time, a lot of the time. And if we feel like we are losing control, then, and we are constantly out of control, and that, that it's not just a one-time instance, then maybe it is a hormonal balance. Maybe it is a thyroid imbalance. Maybe it is an old trauma that is rearing and you haven't let it go.
Right.
You haven't forgiven or forgotten, or, and it's just keeping on cycling, and you haven't learned the lesson yet, whatever the lesson is meant to be. Right. So if there is that instance of I've gotten to my limit and I'm consistently there, constantly there, then maybe it does make sense to test and see what is going on the physiological level, be it hormonal or thyroid or whatever.
Yeah. And to me, I thought of the word margin, and creating that margin in that little gap. And in our modern society, some of the great tools that we have out there, like the technology we're using, are things that end up filling the gap that we've then oversubscribed ourselves. And
Mm,
there's nowhere for the moment to either consider, think. It's just constant reaction mode. Especially in the where I am in the DC metro area, it's 90% type A's and high achieving and pushing and going and going and pushing your kids to go and go and go. And we wonder why the kids are, anyway, that's a different rabbit hole. But um, to your point, I think earlier on, the self-care for themselves, I think it leans into the power that and the strength that women bring to the table, of that nurturing piece that you were talking about, of always wanting to take care of others,
mm,
rarely taking care of themselves. But that's also the heart of it, though, too, is finding that balance in there so that you can continue to do the thing that, one, you're somewhat innately designed to do,
mhm,
and brings you your own joy. I think for most women, not to speak for women, but
mm.
that's the alignment. That's how women are designed. Find ways to be able to fulfill that, because you do have a lot on your plate, especially if you're a mother, right?
Mm.
To do all the things and got the kids in different directions. Not that I can speak from experience watching my wife have to do everything, but or being able to do everything, but not having that reprieve, having that
Yeah.
boundary in place to be able to have that set aside time.
Yeah. You're speaking to it just well, just fine. It seems like you're seeing it, right?
I'm
You're
seeing it.
seeing
I'm observing it. Yes,
exactly.
absolutely. An observation,
Exa-
hey, critical to the scientific method, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so yeah, it's a question of, I think that it's a, as we as women, and this is the thing about biohacking that is amazing, and personalized medicine, which is amazing. And where we are now is that we have data, and we have more and more women starting to speak about what's going on for them. We
Hmm.
have more women speaking about the fact that they had a miscarriage. We have more women speaking about how they have PMDD during their cycle, or they
Hmm.
have PCOS or endometriosis. Before, I mean, 5 years ago, people weren't talking about this,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know? And so I think there is a beautiful power in having community and having us be able to kind of push away from, oh, this is my diagnosis, whatever it is, and I need to be ashamed of it. And instead, be a little bit more, again, have that margin, have that pause, have that space to be able to say, I, Dasha, have PCOS, but that doesn't mean I, Dasha, am PCOS,
Right.
right? And so therefore, by having that space, I can then speak about it less emotionally.
Hmm.
And then I can speak to my fellow women to say, all right, what are you doing about this? What have you seen has helped or not helped? And so by opening up the conversation, opening up that vulnerability, opening up the community, we can actually get to a solution,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I think, go back to the tribal time. We had that. We as women would, the book The Red Tent, we as women, once a month, we would all get together, all of our cycles are synced, and we would sit with our elders who were still menstruating, and none of the men were there. And we would sit together and learn and share and be able to be vulnerable with our fellow women. And something has been broken. Something has just been stripped away from that.
Yeah.
Perhaps we're no longer, we're more independent. We don't live in such a community anymore. There's so many different reasons, but it's beautiful, I think, to see now how that tide is shifting, how we're coming around, and maybe the community is no longer in a tent in a tribe. Maybe the community is more online and global. But the beautiful thing is then you can go to a community like WealthCo and type in a question like, what's going on? How do I do this? And you'll have women from all around the globe actually giving you an answer.
That's awesome. That's great. So jump to the retreats and give a brief lowdown of what to expect. I think you mentioned you have a couple of them coming up.
Yeah.
Maybe break that down.
Sure. So we have two that still have space. One in the end of October, October 25th to the 30th, and November 20th to the 25th. So right before Thanksgiving.
Okay.
And so the idea there was that people could hopefully take a little bit of time off before Thanksgiving and then go home. Or if they want, they can stay on. So each retreat is, again, 5 days. It's in Dominican Republic in the north of DR. We are staying right on the beach. So you literally walk out of your house and within 2 seconds, you are on the beach. So every morning there's sunrise yoga or a beach walk. And then throughout the course of the 5 days, it's a mix. It's a mix of different activities, such as there's workshops. So we'll have workshops on everything that I've been talking about here. And so it could be either informational workshops or physical workshops. So the retreat that's in October is really focused on movement and releasing that stress through the body.
Mm-hmm.
So Lauren, who's my co-host, Lauren Sambatero, she is a movement coach, right? So we're going to be talking about traumatic release exercises, infant development movement. We're going to be talking about how to feel stress in your body, right? How to even say, oh, wow, yeah, I feel that in my shoulders. I feel that in my hips. I even really understanding what it means to feel stress in the body.
Yeah.
Because if we can feel it, then we can actually move it through. And knowing she's amazing, and she's in the sense that she knows how to fit in certain movements throughout the course of the day, right? We're all busy. We all have things to do. So it's not just another, like, here's an exercise.
Right.
No, it's, okay, how do we move? How do we move appropriately so that we can remove that stress and get it out of you? Because if it's stuck in you, lo and behold, in a couple of years, it's going to stay stuck. And you're going to be having a knee replacement or a hip replacement or God knows what, right?
Yeah.
So it's, how do we get that out of your body? And then the other one is in November. It's focused on brain health. So my background is, I got into biohacking because of a brain injury, or rather 6 brain injuries.
Wow.
And so I got really interested in the brain and how I could be supporting it. And what ended up happening was, because of the brain injury, I ended up having a hormonal imbalance. And so I saw the connection between the two, right?
Okay.
And so that retreat is focused on the brain, and we've brought in different experts. So I'll be there. I'll be giving a couple of workshops, and then I've invited 2 guest speakers as well. So Dr. John Kim, he's a pharmacist and functional doctor. He's going to be talking about how the gut really impacts the brain. So he looks at toxins, how to release toxins, how to remove them from the body, how mold and EMF and again, trauma could actually be stored in the body and show up as a leaky gut. Right. So we're talking about the brain. Like, the whole focus of that retreat is the brain and how to make sure you don't have brain fog, how to be thinking more clearly, right? What adaptogens, what nootropics, what things like that to be taking. But we're looking at different lenses. So he's going to bring the gut lens. And then we also have Natalie Nidham, who her expertise is peptides and bioregulators. And so she'll be giving a talk about how to optimize the brain with the aid of things like peptides and bioregulators.
Okay.
So yeah, that retreat is going to be jam-packed, and you get 3 people for the price of 1, really. And yeah, I'm really excited to give your listeners and give folks the opportunity to come down and reset, right? Be it with the focus of movement or be it with the focus of brain health. Both retreats, we do a half-day excursion to this magical waterfall. We have a private chef who cooks all of our food.
Nice.
So if people have any allergy, we got you. We have different goodie, like a kit that we give to everybody who comes. So there's a focus on, if it's a kit for movement or if it's a kit on brain health, but that includes different products that I like, that I've curated, companies that kind of believe and want to be part of helping women to really achieve their own optimal health.
That's fantastic. So how can folks learn or sign up?
Yeah. So it's www.whealth.community. So wealth.community. And if you go on there, you'll see the different retreats that are up there. At the bottom of each page, there's a link to have a 15-minute chat with me.
Okay.
Reason being because everything about this retreat is catered, right? It's curated for the individuals who come. And so I don't want the retreat to be the wrong fit for the person. And so it's a little bit of learning about you, learning about what you're looking to get out of it, and you questioning me, right? Asking me all the questions that you might have too. So if you sign up there, then just sign up for 15 minutes. We'll jump on a phone call and then we can go through all the details about which rooms, where to fly into, all that kind of stuff.
Great.
And the thing that I want to mention is, I really want to incentivize people to come. And so for anybody who's listening to your podcast and
Okay.
for your listeners, I would love to give a discount. So when you fill out the calendar invite, there'll be a spot to say, where did you learn about this retreat? And you can just put, Scott's podcast or Rest and Recovery, and we will give you a 15% off, which is kind of insane. Kind of insane because that's a couple $100 off.
Yeah.
The caveat though is that we really would like to incentivize to sign up soon because we do need to kind of figure out some logistics on our side. So that promo will be good until September 23rd.
Okay. Well, we'll be sure to get that out to the community. So thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
It sounds like a pretty phenomenal experience, and to really, again, that reset that everyone needs.
Yeah.
But in this particular case, especially for women, and it's tailored towards that's going to work with you. And I like the fact that it's a small group too. It's not going to be overwhelming for folks who don't want to go to the big conferences and all the people.
Exactly.
And an opportunity to really work through things.
Exactly. Yeah. I like it that you get to get the information that you would at a conference, but more tailored for women's health specifically.
Mm-hmm.
And you also have the time and the space to relax.
Yeah.
Because many times when we go to these conferences, we come back, we're like, woof.
Yeah.
Okay. That was an overload.
Yep. There's no, it's not prescribed with the margin in there. It's just constant consumption of things, which is still good, but
it fits what a conference is for, right? It's just that this is, I don't know, I'm biased, obviously, right? But so far it's been great. The women who we had one retreat last year, or rather March of this year, and they're still in touch together. They and they messaged us saying this is March 2022, and they're like, it's still the highlight of my year, right?
That's fantastic.
So yeah, come on down
to your community. So whealth.community, and so that is literally a community group that you can sign up for, learn from, engage with yourself and other people within the community.
Yep, exactly. So that community, it's online. We did not put it on Facebook because I don't like censorship. And we wanted it to be very, just to be able to speak openly. So with that community, it's online. You can join for a month for free, just to check it out.
Mm-hmm.
We have webinars, we have different things that people, to answer people's questions as well. And then in January, actually, we're going to be, we'll be opening up a course. So it's the first women's biohacking course that is specifically led by experts. And the reason for that is I think that all of us have our own N of one. All of us have our own journeys. All of us have our own experiences. And we can speak about those, which is great. But I really wanted to have experts who have been in their space for 15, 20 years, 10 years, whatever it is, but they're focused on their thing, right? And have them as our teachers, have them as our professors. So it'll open up in January. It's kind of like a semester worth of information specific to women's biohacking. So each week there's a new teacher, and yeah, it's catered and curated specifically to women's health.
Awesome.
Which I haven't seen out there just yet, and I'm really, really excited. We haven't actually kind of launched the website on there, but there is a wait list. So actually, your audience is going to be the first ones to truly know about it.
Cool.
So yeah, let's sign up for it.
Okay.
It'll, again, like I said, it'll launch in January, and we're going to have an early bird sale for now. So I'll get that website up actually sooner, so that by the time this goes live, then people can sign up for it.
Great. Yeah, just, to me, a PSA is I would encourage all the ladies listening, husbands, if you're listening, boyfriends, encourage your wives to at least investigate. If the timing doesn't work, fine. I know Dasha will be doing a lot more of these, I'm sure. But highly, highly recommend the experience to go and do what you need to do to kind of be your best self. That's the goal. We only get one of these lives, and so why waste it in strain and stress when it's meant to be lived and enjoyed, so, and in community. So Dasha, thank you so much for your time, and look forward to hearing more about the back end of these experiences.
For sure. Thanks for having me on. It was fun.
Enjoyed it.
Yeah.